Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Lambinsky's Garage. Let's get it. So today, we're kind of going to go over what you want to look at if you want to buy one of these trucks, or one of these trucks, or one of these trucks. We've got a handful of these 1961 to 1971 Sweptlines around here. And there's been a few people in the Sweptline groups on Facebook and such that are asking, hey, what should we look for before we buy these trucks? Well, I'm going to show you. We have varying levels of solidness of these pickups, from really clean ones to not so clean ones to rotten ones that still run and drive. But let's go over this really clean one first. The things you want to look for me, the first I look for is rust in the fenders. Rust up here in the cowl. Sometimes they rot out here from when they come down, where water comes down into the windshield wiper area. A lot of times they'll rot out here as well. And there's a place inside here that will also rot out. Let me get that hood open and I'll show you. As you can see, right by these hood hinges, there's a hole. And a lot of times these are rotted out either around the hole or the whole thing. They're just... This one you can see is plugged up. It's just not good. But this one's still solid. It's still really solid on the other side too. And the other thing, these hoods, for whatever reason, get this one down, right in here, they like to rot out. And why? I couldn't tell you. I haven't really seen the grills and stuff rot out, but that hood, for whatever reason, really does. So let's move on to doors over here. This one conveniently has the window down. But what you want to look for here is that step. Hey, it's there. That's a good sign. And you can see she's solid all the way across the bottom. This one's solid in the floor as well. This one's even got a nice seat. And it's got its door handles. Another place is the bottom of these doors. They really like to rot out and then separate. I'll show you that too, what one looks like when they do that. I've never really seen one with cab corner rust, but they are out there. It's just not very common. That is not good. I'll show you that in a second, but this is just a slant 6.4 speed D400 truck. Anyways, let's keep moving on things to look at. This truck is one that's not as solid, but we picked it up anyways because it was a decent buy. So let me show you. Right up in here, as you can see where it was rotting out, she's rotted out pretty good. And she's starting to rot out over here as well. The hood has definitely been mudded up and it's not as good. But also another thing with these 318 polys that we found out. You can tell this one's a poly because of the way that it is, and it says it on the valve cover. But they have a 2-barrel, and all these trucks came with a 2-barrel. They never came with a 4-barrel unless they were the special CSS 426 trucks. But those, there's like 13 of them out there, so you don't really have to worry about that. But anyways, the water from the fuel tank comes into the carburetor, gets pumped in, and then for whatever reason, it all drains down into number 8 cylinder. So if you're going to go look at one of these and it's stuck, the first thing I would check is number 8. And you can do that with a bore scope. We take a bore scope with us, but we didn't this time because it wasn't really that necessary. So let's move on to the inside and I'll show you some other places to look at. I would hope you remember from mere moments ago, I talked about these doors. That's what I was talking about. They come separated from the bottom of the door here, and they just rot really bad. This one's got severe floor rot, but it came with floor pans, which is pretty neat. Let's see. There's not really stuff in the interior that I can think of. Just make sure it's got all its gauges and all that kind of stuff. And these came in a bunch of different configurations. We mostly do 62 to 65, so that's why they have the quad headlights and stuff. But they can come with a 3 on the column, a 4 on the floor, and an automatic on the dash. And guess what? I've got one of each, and I can show you what they look like. Before we move on, another good thing to check is the exhaust, because that right there is a glass pack. That is a straight through muffler, and you know, mice can jump up those tailpipes, go all the way down the pipe, and just walk straight through that muffler and then into your heads. And it's not good when that happens, because then they build mouse nests up there, and then they do their business, and then that goes down the cylinder walls and destroys cylinders. I found that out the hard way with a 440 that I bought out in North Dakota. But anyways, we got it rebuilt, and my buddy's driving it now, so that's pretty cool. Let's go look at this truck. Now this truck right here has all the earmarks of a certified hard used unit, but it's got a slant 6 that runs amazing. So, like I said, here's that rust in that hood. That's just where they decide they want to rot out. Why? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But she's got fender damage. She's got fender rot, which you don't see all that often. But all the steps in this one are good too, if I remember correctly. There, see, I didn't make a liar out of myself. But the floor is pretty weak on this one. Aren't they all? The floor is weak on that one as well. See, this one's a 3-speed on the column up there, which is pretty cool. You know, we fixed the door handles on these. It's really common for these door handles to strip out because they can get loose really easily. These ones are pretty good, but they have a set screw in them around here somewhere. Yeah, probably right in there, there's a screw. And when you crank them, when they're loose, they just strip out the splines. And that's not what you really want, and it ruins them. You can fix them. Oh, there's one other thing I'm going to go show you on that driver's door that's really important. So, you know the story. The old timer that bought this brand new only used it around the farm, drove it to church on Sundays. It doesn't have a whole lot of miles on it. Well, that's something as well. As you can see, you can look to tell the miles on a rig. Generally, you can get a good idea by how much wear is on the clutch and on the brake pedal. And in this instance, in the throttle pedal, seeing as it's gone. So you could tell this one's been around the block a couple of times. But if you're having door shutting problems, here is your answer. This little pewter star wheel is really soft. So when it gets open and closed and open and closed and open and closed all the time, that's going to wear out. And these wear out constantly. And guess what? You can't buy them. You can't get them anywhere. Thankfully, that one still shuts all right. But you can't get them anywhere. So make sure those are in pretty good shape. It helps a lot. It's not necessary, but it's going to save you some heartache when you don't have to adjust the door every time and yada yada. Another thing, mirrors. Most factory mirrors were mounted here. Or aftermarket ones were mounted, well, anywhere. You can tell when a truck has a lot of mirrors, or has had a lot of mirrors, because it'll have holes here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Sometimes here. Probably not there, though. But everywhere else. And that's just another spot for them to rot out and rot them doors off. But I've never really seen one with roof rot. I've got a 73 Dodge out back that does have roof rot, so I'll show you what that looks like too. These two specimen here's are real fine units, you know. But anyways, up here is where these ones rot out, up around the drip rail, because they get water up in there, they get crap up in there, and they get stuck, and then it rots. But that's pretty common for this era of Dodge. I've never had one on this era. This is the tin grill era, 72 to, I don't know, something. I don't do these trucks. But this one was cheap enough, so, you know, had to have it. Anyways, let's move over to this one that does have some cab corner rot. How that happened is beyond me, because this is the first one I've ever seen that's ever had cab corner rot. Well, there's a few things that are a little unique about this truck. There's some different options and stuff on it. Over on the driver's side, there's an option tag that doesn't tell you very much. Well, it doesn't tell you a whole lot of anything, really, other than what engine, what transmission, and the rear end and ratio. Other than that, there's not much it tells you. And these trucks don't have specified build sheets and fender tags like cars do. So, yeah, they got options, and, well, that's about all you get to know. They do sometimes have little special tags down on the bottom that have different numbers that you can find options for, but they're more few and far between than anything. There's a bunch of different trim levels for these trucks, and we've got a few of them, but I can't go over them all because then we'd just be way too long-winded. Now, do you remember when I told you that I usually don't see the front ends rust out on these? This one is kind of an exception because it came from Forks, Washington, and it is rusty. But the box is really good. As you can see, this one's got a different grill too. That grill started in 65.5 and went to 67. So they changed that again, and then 68, 69 had a different grill again. I'll picture it here. And then 70, 71 had a different grill. But all of the things that I have showed you all apply the same. The same spots to look, all the rust areas. This truck is just a completely different can of worms that is really unique that we're going to get to one of these days. But for now, let's go over to a really solid example of one of these trucks that we're going to be using for a builder for ourselves. This is a 1964 or 5, I don't remember, Dodge D100. This one is a half-ton. It's a long bed pickup, and it's one of the most solid trucks we have ever picked up. And like I said, all those spots that I showed you, this one doesn't have that rust. This one is pretty much a southern/eastern Oregon truck, and over there in the deserts, they're definitely better, like Arizona, Nevada, California, the deserty places, or the places they've been off the road for quite some time. They're just all around better. So I know it's going to cost more to ship them, but it's kind of worth it when you don't have to do all the body work and all the rust repair. This one, we have some body work like that. Those don't need to be there, but that's okay. This one, we're going to be chopping down to a short bed. We're going to chop the frame. We're going to chop the box. We're going to put a 392 Hemi in it, Crown Vic front suspension, CSS bucket seats. We're going the whole 9 on this one, and it's going to look really nice. This is the hot rod that my dad wants to build. So, let's build him a good one, I'd say. There's one other thing I thought of when I opened this hood, and I'm going to show you. These hoods, it's extremely common to bend up in here for whatever reason. I don't really know why, but they just do. So, when you open the hood, and this one you don't really have to worry about it, but a small block, the distributor is right here. And guess what comes running down from that hood up there? That's right, water right on top of your distributor. Another thing that I also just thought of is a lot of these, you'll see the grills here and here that have big dents in them. That's from people putting their feet up on the bumper and then putting their knee on the grill so they can get up here and look at what they're doing. But that's just minor things, and you know, that can be straightened out. But anyways, I think that's a pretty good rundown on if you want to buy one of these trucks. Those are the things to look for. You know, the common things too, like how's the bed, how are the wheel arches, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and there's little things we gotta fix. There's some dents in the tailgate, but this is one of the nicest and most solid ones we've had, and it's going to make a spectacular builder. And I'm really hoping it's going to make some really good videos for you guys. But, anyways, I think that's about it. Hey, if I forgot something, put it down in the comments. Something that you look for. Something that, you know, sparks your fancy. Put it down in the comments. Yeah, anything like that. Also, I forgot to mention, it's pretty obvious, but you should always inspect the frames on these trucks on anything you're going to look for or look at. Check the frames, the spring hangers, both ends. Make sure they're not rotted out. I don't have that problem around here, so it's not really a thing I have to look for. But you guys back in the salt states, you really need to look at that, because that could really ruin your day. But anyways, guys, if you want to buy one of these Sweptline trucks, that's what you should be looking for. And really, that's any truck of the 60s and 70s era. They're just kind of fine-tooth comb them, because people can really cover up some bad crap, and it's really easy to do. So just look them over, check them out, take your time. You're not going to offend the guy. Well, you might if he's not an honest seller, but then you wouldn't want to buy from him anyways. So, anyways, guys, if you like that, subscribe. If you didn't like that, let me know. So, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.